There you go. Okay. As I think most people know, there are going to be a number of ballot items that the people of Burlington will be voting on March 3rd. And one of them, item number 2, calls for an increase in taxes to expand our police department. And we are here today, all of us, to ask for support of that tax increase. And I'd like to introduce some of the people who are with me. I think most people know Sadie White. Sadie was a member of the Vermont State Legislature from the Old North End for, I think, Sadie, 16 years, more or less?
More or less. More or less,
16 years. Sadie was also a member of the Burlington Board of Aldermen for 1 term, 2 years. On my left is Christine Statz, who is a student at the University of Vermont and is a resident assistant in one of the dormitories. Joe McGrath, I first met in 1981 when Joe ran against me for mayor. And I think one of the issues that Joe talked about during that campaign was the need for increased police protection. Joe is a very long-time resident of the Old North End. And on the extreme left is John Burchard, who's a resident of Ward 4 and is here today as a representative of the Burlington Police Commission. And I'll make a brief statement and we'll give the mics over to the other people who are here with me. We have come here this afternoon together to ask for public support for ballot item number 2, a 4-cent tax increase for the Burlington Police Department, which will increase by 7 the number of police officers in the department and will provide for the expansion of a number of other police programs. Our long-term goal over a 5-year period is to expand the police department by 20. Our hope is that we can get off to a good start by expanding the police department by 7 and continuing a number of programs as a result of the passage of this tax increase. I am very proud that in many ways the Burlington Police Department today is in better condition than it has been for many years. We are today operating at very close to our maximum manpower. We have developed a new auxiliary police department which is very ably assisting our sworn police officers. We've developed a new summer park patrol program which also has been doing an excellent job. In addition, this spring we will see the construction of a new police substation in the new North End, and construction should begin there at approximately mid-April. Despite the many improvements that we have been making in our police department, it seems clear to me that as our city expands in terms of new development, in terms of population growth, and as we increase the activities available to our people down on the waterfront, we want to be as certain as we can that we do our best to make sure that we're protecting as effectively as we can the safety and the property of all the people in the city of Burlington. This tax increase will not only provide 7 new officers to the police force, but it will expand our park patrol, expand the auxiliary police department, provide funding for self-defense programs for women, and continue such programs as the Sexual Assault Investigation Unit, the Drug Task Force, and the Neighborhood Crime Prevention Program. This 4-cent, $424,000 program has the unanimous support of the Board of Aldermen and the Police Commission. As our great city continues to move forward, it seems to me absolutely essential that we make certain that we have the necessary resources to protect our people as they live in their neighborhoods, as they enjoy the waterfront, and as they enjoy the downtown Burlington area. My sincere hope is that this tax increase will win with widespread support on March 3rd, and that we'll be able to move forward as quickly as possible in expanding the police department. Now I'd like to give the mic over to Sadie White, and then we'll just proceed leftward. Sadie?
I'm Sadie White. I belong in the North End of Burlington. I've lived there for several years. I'm a member of the senior citizen clubs in the state of Vermont. I'm on the advisory board also. And I'm here today to plead with all of the senior citizens that come within my voice that they will please vote for that police bond on the ballot that's on for March 3rd. We really need the protection of the police, and we need more police, as many as we can get. And that's the best thing that I've heard of for a long while, is to try to get a ballot on to assist in getting more police.
Some of us are shocked that you're a member of a senior citizen club. What is a woman of 37 years old being a member of a senior citizen club?
Well, that's all right, Bernie. You're getting there, too.
Christine Statz is a resident assistant at a dorm at UVM. Christine?
I guess I speak for a lot of residents up at UVM, and especially for a lot of women who will see this as a positive thing because it funds self-defense programs and assists in a sexual assault task force. And I think that's an important thing that we need to address, and we need to have more education on. And I hope that this bill, it passes and that we see more money going into those areas.
Thank you. Joe McGrath is a longtime resident of the Old North End. Joe?
Yeah, I'd like to see more police officers on because there's a lot of crimes going on, not only on the Old North End, all over the city of Burlington. And we need more protection. And like I say, 4 cents more is not that much. I think people can afford 4 cents and if you have so many bombs they put on there and charge it 37 cents or something like that. I think all I got to say, we need a police officer. I'm for it 100%.
Thank you, Joe. Joe made a point, by the way. The 4-cent tax increase for a home of about $70,000 will be a $28 a year increase in people's property taxes. John Burchett is a member of the Burlington Police Commission. John?
I'm here primarily to speak for the Police Commission on behalf of the police tax. And I think I also speak for the department itself. Last fall, we did an anonymous survey of the entire department in terms of uniformed officers and staff. And the one thing they said in that survey, the one thing that really stood out in terms of a way to improve the department and provide them with support was to add more manpower. I think they do a difficult job. I think they do a good job. And I think that it's pretty clear we need more of them. Just a comment in terms of my being a resident in Ward 4. The people I speak to in Ward 4 are delighted that we're going to have a substation out there pretty soon. Not only do we need more police officers, but I think we feel in Ward 4 that we need more officers in Ward 4 more often. So I'm very much in support of this police tax.
Okay, any questions from media?
Bernie, what were those numbers again? You said the 4-cent tax?
4 cents tax on a home of $70,000 would be a $28 increase. On a home of $100,000 would be a $40 a year increase in taxes.
70 is the average, right?
Roughly speaking. Now, we realize, I think I can speak at least for the woman here on my right and all of us, that we are less than enthusiastic in general about asking for property tax increases for anything. But I think, on the other hand, it's imperative that we expand the police department. We think this is not an onerous burden that's going to be placed on homeowners, and we hope very much that it will be passed.
Mayor, do you see this in any way as a sort of a failure of your administration to find an alternative to a property tax increase? You've been talking about that for so many years. This is a time when you have to resort to a property tax increase.
Bob, there's been no administration in, I think, the history of the state of Vermont that has fought more aggressively against the property tax, that has come up with more alternatives to the property tax. We're not miracle people. For 5 years, we have not raised general city property taxes at all, and we have to make a choice. And the choice this year is, are we going to be able to expand our police department and make certain that we have the kind of police protection that we want in every area of this city, or do we not? We have come up with 4 major alternatives to the property tax in the last several years. I'm very proud of that. We are leading the fight in Montpelier to break our dependency on the property tax. I'm not a miracle person. And I think this year what we are doing is asking for a property tax increase for the police department. My hope and expectation is that we're going to have widespread support from the public for this tax increase, as we did from the members of the Board of Aldermen. I'm very delighted that on this issue, as on a number of others, we've had the 3 political factions unanimously supporting this, and I hope we'll go forward together.
I think it's a justified tax. I think everyone requires understands that we need more police, and I think that everybody will support this ask for more police on our force.
Well, if I could follow up on Ms. White, The mayor speaks often about how the property tax tends to hurt folks like the elderly and so forth, and you're 100% behind this.
That's understandable. I'm on
Feel a certain danger?
my house has been broken into 4 times, and I live in the North End, and we've had a number of breaks there. Perhaps with more police, we can get more protection. We need protection for young as well as old, and I think that with more police, that will what we'll get.
The tax won't hurt?
It may hurt somewhat, but you know, there's always something that you can give up. If you have to pay that, you pay this, and you know, perhaps you don't go to the movies that one time and you pay the tax.
It's worth paying $28 more or $40 more a year and get protection. As if someone's breaking in your house or setting your house afire or something like that. There's a lot of that going on in the old North End. All right, this Johnson Street, Monroe Street, and Pearl Street, all those streets where I'm there. It's not safe to walk down North Street at night, after 7 at night, not for a woman, not for a man.
You're right.
I'd be willing to pay $40 more, $28. I may have to pay $28. I'd be willing to pay it as long as I get protection. I'm not as young as I used to be.
You're angry at the situation.
No, that's not angry. I would just like to have protection.
I think there's one point that I want to reiterate again, is just because one is philosophically opposed to the property tax, that does not mean to say that in certain circumstances you don't weigh the pros and the cons. We can say no more property tax increases and not allow for the expansion of the police department, which is necessary. Once again, there is no city in the modern history of the state of Vermont that has moved more aggressively against the property tax than we have. 4 major alternatives. But I think sometimes what you have to say is you weigh the pros and the cons, and you say that a property tax increase is not good for anybody. No one wants to see it. But I think when you weigh, as Sadie and Joe have been talking about, weigh the pros and the cons, in this instance, I strongly support it, because I think we need to expand the police department.
Set priorities in terms of all these different ballot items that are, you know, it's tough to ask people to support all these different things. Are there some that you prefer?
Well, what we're here today to do, Bob, is really with the people here who are my guests, is to ask for support for ballot item number 2. I obviously, and I don't really want to get into a broader discussion today. We're here to ask for support of the police tax. I support all the items that are on the ballot.
Mayor, are you aware of any morale problems or any problems of any nature in the police force?
There are problems in every department in the city of Burlington and in the state of Vermont and in the federal government. I would dare say that we are not operating perfectly. I would say that in general, I think probably our police department today is operating at higher morale, more efficiently than it ever has before.
Okay, well that contradicts what I hear from cops, is that right now there have been a lot of people leaving in the last year. This expansion, I mean, filling the vacancies may be enough of a challenge, and Mr. Berkshire knows the fact perhaps better than you. But the idea that just money for more positions is going to mean protection to keep people out of Sadie's house, do you think there's a direct relation?
Well, no one here is going to suggest, and I don't think anybody has, and I don't think any sensible person thinks that adding more police officers is going to automatically stop the crime problem in the city of Burlington. I'm proud, for example, that in terms of juvenile delinquency, this city is leading the state, in my view, in terms of preventative programs for kids who might become delinquent. 7 new officers is not going to solve the problem. I would point out that compared to where we were 6 years ago within our police department, we are doing much, much better. Morale is much higher. I just got off the phone with Chief Scully, and I think we have 2 or 3 vacancies, and they're in the process of being filled. This is a significant improvement over where we were 5 or 6 years ago when you were talking about a 25% vacancy rate in the city. I think it's fair to say that there is no department in any form of government where there are not problems, and nothing that I'm suggesting here suggests to you that anything is perfect. It is not perfect. I think we are in far better shape than we used to be. The turnover rate is much lower. In terms of turnover rate, what is also clear is that you're always going to have turnover rate when you're having officers leaving the city for higher paying jobs with the state police, with the FBI, and so forth, federal agencies.
Mr. Berkshire, could you tell us what the turnover rate is now? Do you know?
Well, the last, up until a month ago, we had a full staff. I can't give you, I don't know the figures in terms of how many had turned over in the past 12 months, but I'm told, I haven't been on the commission that long, that it was more stable than it had been for some time. But it was a complete staff at that point, which is something we hadn't had for many years. That's 85 uniformed officers.
To the best of my knowledge, what we are down right now out of a force of 85 is 3, and 2 people have already been hired and will shortly be on. I think another one will be. So we're really virtually operating at close to full manpower. And what people should remember when we discuss the staffing of a police department, it's not just what you're allowed, it's actually the number of men and women in the force who are out on the streets. In years past, we used to have a certain maximum number of people, but when you had a vacancy rate of 20%, it didn't matter what your maximum number was because you weren't having those people out on the streets. Right now, we are operating and have, for the last many months, at close to full manpower. And I think that means that, I know what that means, is that we're having more police officers out on the streets. In addition to that, when you have an auxiliary police department attempting to pick up some of the paperwork or some of the non-pressing police work that a department does, it means to say you're going to have more of your sworn officers out on the streets. I think we have been making some significant progress, and the passage of this tax increase will go that much further.
What would this exactly mean in terms of cops on the street, Commissioner? I mean, at any given hour, how many more police would really be on the street if this thing passes? Would it be 1 or 2 extra, or?
Well, you're only talking about 7. I think, you know, our preference is to ultimately add 20. But with 7, 4 shifts, you know, you're looking at maybe 1.5 more, you know, people out there. So you're not going to see a huge change. But to get back to the question of morale, you know, it's a question we're concerned about as commissioners. It's one of the reasons we did perform this anonymous survey. The problem, though, in judging how is the morale, you know, we felt what we got back indicated it was about average, but average compared to what? We don't know. This is the first time this has been done. We will do this on an annual basis. What is significant to me, as we asked the officers and the staff what could be done to improve morale, to make the department better, 2 things stood out clearly. And one was more manpower, and the other was improvement in the physical plant. And you may be hearing about that someday in the future. But, well, we have some space problems, but we also have manpower problems, and, you know, we certainly are trying to address that now.
Do you know how many of the 85 positions, how many of those are, you know, in the station house jobs, and how many are actually uniform officers?
I don't believe that's been fully decided right now. I can tell you if I have my way, they'll all be out on the street.
But they're not. That's a complaint I often hear from police officers when they say, yeah, there's only 27 working the street. They're all sitting in a desk over there.
Well, I don't think that that's a fair statement. I think the expansion of the auxiliary police department is serving just that function, and that is trying to free up sworn police officers to go out on the streets while other people are doing some of the paperwork. And I think we're making progress in that area.
And as the mayor has pointed out, the auxiliary have helped a lot in that regard.
John, is this new addition going to, I've heard the chief speak of, you know, you figure out how many sworn officers you need per 1,000 people, both short-term and permanent residents. How will this bring us up into relationship to that?
I can't cite you the precise figures. I think that we're below where we should be given the population, not, you know, necessarily just the population of Burlington itself, which is what, 38, 40,000, but the population that Burlington has to deal with during the weekday and on some of the weekends.
With the 7, will still be below the number we should have?
I think it'll still be somewhat below that, what we should have, yes.
Will the 20 bring us up?
I think that'll get us close to it, yeah.
But still not.
That's, well, you know, I think 20, I'm told anyway, by the chief that we should have 20, and I believe it's based on those figures.
Mayor, we have to go for the whole 20. If this is only going to mean, the Commissioner just said that it wouldn't mean really a big change. I mean, that city over there is house.
Who said it would not mean a big change? What you're talking about is 1.5 with 2 new officers out on the streets per shift. That is not an insignificant increase. Our goal that we have worked out with the police chief and with the police commission, the goal that we have is to expand the department by 20 members over a 5-year period. This will give us a very good jump on that goal. You know, we are living in a city which lost $1 million worth of revenue sharing. We have needs that deal not only with the police department, we have needs in a number of the departments in the city. And I think that the passage of this will take us a significant step forward to dealing with those problems. And, you know, in my judgment, this is a reasonable tax increase to ask for the people. I don't want to ask for a giant tax increase and end up with nothing. I think this is a sum of money which is reasonable. It takes us a significant way toward the goal that we wish to achieve. There'll be immediate improvements within a few months. I think it's the right way to go.
You have to use a little common sense, you know. A large bond issue is never going to go cross with a couple of other bond issues on also. So you better use your common sense and get a few now, and then get another bond issue and put the rest on.
Sure.
Why do you feel the need to go to the media to say that you support this and to drum up support for it? Is there some concern yet this isn't a fact?
Sure, there's support that it may not pass. We have a number of money items on the ballot. We're asking a lot of the people of Burlington, and this is one of the important items. As you know, there's going to be a school tax increase. There's going to be the tax increase right now for the police department. There's a bond issue for the waterfront on. And we're going to do as much as we can in every way that we can to make sure that this tax increase passes. And we would very much appreciate the cooperation of the media in showing that there's widespread community support for this.
Are you saying here that over the next 5 years, every year you're going to be asking for more police then, and will that require, you know, another tax increase each year?
What I am saying is that our goal is to expand the Burlington Police Department by about 20 people, 20 new officers over a 5-year period. If we're successful in getting this tax increase passed, we'll expand the police department by 7 people this year, which will take us a long way along that goal. But obviously, clearly, it means that in the next few years, we're going to have to either develop new ways to raise revenue. For example, as you know, there is some discussion in Montpelier for a statewide revenue sharing program. I am very supportive of that effort. So it's obviously much too early to say how we are going to raise the money to expand our police department. But clearly, as we expand our police department, we're going to need new sources of revenue. That goes without saying.
Will definitely be more police added in the next year then?
What I just said 4 times, that our goal is to expand the police department.
I'm just saying if you're...
Well, that's our goal, and that's the direction that we're going to shoot for. We're asking for 7 this year. That would leave a gap of 13 to be filled within the next 4 or 5 years.
We just trust that it won't be all property tax, you know. We perhaps will raise some other 2 or 3 cents somewhere else.
A quick question for Ms. Nance. Do you feel inadequately protected at UVM?
On UVM campus, I don't feel as much fear walking to classes or at nighttime back to my dorm, but coming down to Burlington, I feel inadequately protected.
Do you hear these things as an RA?
We get a lot of statistics. I have some statistics here about sexual assaults that occur on campus, and security is pretty good about giving us information of what happens. But we don't give any information about what goes on down here, and I think we need to have more information like that. So I think that putting money into these programs will be a good step in helping people realize that they need to be more cautious and to take self-defense courses and educate themselves.
Is it fair to say that sexual assault is probably female student population's #1 crime concern?
No, I think there's a lot of theft, a lot of car theft and stuff like that. But I guess that's the #1 fear when you walk out the door. Is the first thing, if you're going to worry about something, you're going to worry about someone following you or whatever.
Okay? Thanks very much. Bob, I didn't mean to be brusque, but I thought, I'll go.
That far away from here. How bad is it in Norman right now?
Sure.
It's getting worse.
I went in.
A lot worse than it was years ago.
Yeah.